You can see here a few passes. Gosh, I've probably made 10 passes across this with 24 grit. Maybe I can. You can kind of see that. I don't know if you can see the diagonal scratches in this, but I mean that it removes a lot. But there's I mean these are a little bit taller than 3/4 of an inch, and like all this will probably come down. Well, this may not, because I've already got this down. Whoops, let me raise that up. I've got this down. You can still see this is low right in here. So this will come down a little bit more. But I think I'm gonna have to start switching to 36 grit here because I'll get so deep with the 24. Really, I just want to start touching here, and then because these deep scratches, they'll be hard to get out. I mean, once this goes down flush with here, I don't really think I want to have 24 grit scratches in this, because the scratches will be, once this starts kind of touching and getting this smoothed off, the scratches will be pretty deep here. So I may switch to 36 grit. The discs don't last, I go through a lot. The sanding discs. Now, one brand I bought is terrible because it doesn't fit. Well, if it fit, actually this brand right here, see, this is still, this is so smooth. This was 24 grit, and it starts out real abrasive, and then almost after, not before you even make one pass, it's pretty much dulled. Anyway, I've been getting these off of Amazon. The cheap ones off of Amazon are still expensive, but they didn't fit. They slip, so I can't use them. And I tried putting tape in the drum to try and thicken it up, but it didn't help. But it's actually, it would go a lot quicker if I just made a couple of passes and threw this out, because you're really not getting anywhere once they get blunted. You can see, right, I mean, this right here got cleaned up real quick once I put a fresh pad on, but by the time, once I put a new drum on, or sanding, what are those called? Roller, sanding roller, drum, a belt, of course. Once I put a new belt on, you can get quite a bit done pretty quick, and then it dulls, and then you can sit there and it'll keep sanding, and it'll keep taking it off, but it'll take a little bit longer. But just keep after it, and eventually it gets, I just go over it one pass at a time, and then eventually get it all flattened out, and I can switch over to the finer grits, and then I'll do my edging. We'll have kind of a job here. This one's going to be I got a bad gouge there. I'm probably going to try and route that out at some point and drop a plug in it. Alright, I'll make a few more passes with this belt. Maybe just one, maybe two, and then I've got to swap it out. Still got
quite a ways to go here. This is where I brought this up and put 2 new boards in here. And these are actually in the attic. They were rafter ties. And I took them out and put just 1x4s in their place. That way I could have some more boards to use. And drag that down. This is cupped pretty good right here. So I have to work on this a little more. I'm going to get a fresh belt out. Work on this across here. You can see there's quite a ways to go. So far I've used 2.5 belts, maybe 3.5. Going down through here now that I've made a few passes, and there's been some. I've set some of these boards before I started with a finish nailer, but now I'm going through and taking some of the previous finish nails that I've uncovered from sanding, and I'm actually sinking those down a little bit, and while I'm running over it with sandpaper. But also it seats the board better, so it's doesn't flex so much. Now this is probably a pretty unique situation since, I don't know, maybe not, but this floor is so old. Let's seat these down. And then when I am going to sweep this floor with filler, and when I do, it'll fill in the top of these nails. Set them too much and I don't know. See that it splits. Anyway. It's one of the bigger problems with trying to bring this floor level is some of these boards are just standing up tall. And it's good to catch a board like this before you get too far, because then you won't, once you sand it too much, you won't want to you wouldn't want to keep sanding it, but and sink it down later, because once you set it down later, like right now it's got a lip or edge right there, and when I go to sweep my filler, it makes a big blob mess. So far, this is the first board I've found like that. I should have caught this earlier. This is actually getting kind of thin under there. Let's see if I can get that down. I don't know why there's not a nail here. That's about the only place to do that. I've thought about putting screws, and that's probably what I should do. Sink a countersink, put a screw down in there, and then fill it over the top. That's what I should do, but I might try that if the little finish nail doesn't hold it, which it probably won't. Alright.
I've done 24 grit all around the floor and then the edge as well. And you shouldn't tilt. You might see me. You really shouldn't tilt that forward because it gouges deep. This part right here is where a bookshelf goes. So I was just trying to clean it up a little bit. But if you could see, it's actually, these are a bunch of gouges. You can feel it, and you can probably see it because of the change in color. And you see how it changes color? That's all gouging from me. Just did it real bad right there. I could actually come back with my, what I'll do is I'll come back with my orbital sander, and I'm not going to gouge it like that anymore. This is 24 grit. I'm going to step up to 36, and then 60, 80, 100, 120. But I'm not going to gouge it like that. I was just trying to get real aggressive cuts in there, which is definitely not the way to do it, but that's how I'm doing it. But what I'll switch to now is 36 grit, and I'll go all the way up to 100 grit or 80 grit before I get the orbital sander. And I've got a big orbital sander for the floor and a little orbital sander to go around the edges. But actually, I need to get the corners. And to do the corners, I'll do this little carbide cutting tool, which so far has lasted a couple of rooms now already. Now, let's see here. I'll start with this to get real aggressive cuts in. As long as there's no nails, it works pretty good. And then what I'll do after that is follow up. I've got an orbital, oscillating sander. That's what I'll finish those corners up with. These actually are kind of tricky around the edges because it really bows down. So I don't have very many oscillating sanding discs, so I like to cut the most out with the blade and save my sanding pads for finishing up this stuff, trying to level it. And this little paint and stuff, this will really load up your sandpaper. This old pine. This one's bowing up. And this is no, that's not a load bearing wall. But I'm surprised the floor stops here. The load bearing wall is actually over there. And it runs over to there. And then they've, it's cut out. Kind of cut out goes across here, and they redirect it around the staircase. So now I'm going to, now that I've done all my 24 grit and my corners, everything is as cut down and level as I'm going to make it. And now I'm going to switch and just start running through the lighter grits a lot quicker. It takes a lot of time to get everything knocked down level. But once I switch, it'll go. I'll make a couple of passes with 36, and that's, I mean, it probably took 10, 20 or so passes, probably closer to 20 passes, and a lot of 24 grit belts to get this down. But now I've got deep scratches, so I don't want to just keep going with 24 grit. I'm going to come in and run over it with 36. Probably make a few passes with 36. And then after I switch to 50 or 60, I can't remember what I've got. After I switch to that, I'll go a lot faster over it. I need to sweep up. This thing's a mess. Good. Okay. 36 grit. That was a pass with a 60, and
Yeah, you can really start to see the difference. And I'm watching actually for the grain to change in the daylight as I pass over it. I don't know. You can see some of the, I don't know if you can tell. So if you look, actually, yeah, you can see like there's the 36. Actually, that's 24. You see how rough it is and torn up it is. And then the 60's out here next to it. It's still a little, actually right here it's still a little rough. Anyway, I'll just keep going over it. Look at the edge here. Yeah, it's still pretty rough, but it's starting to smooth out. Smooth out a lot better. I'll probably go ahead and run up to 80 now. And then, yeah. I'll hit the edge. I'll go around and do all the edges from 36, 60, 80, maybe 100. I probably will do 100. And then I'll have to empty my bag. That was empty when I started today. So that's how much I vacuumed up. I'm gonna empty that bag and just so it has 100 grit filling. for filler.
I'm gonna go ahead and start filling, but I mean, I still got little bumps in here from the drum. But when I come back with the orbital sander, hopefully that'll kind of even all that out best I can. Right now I'm going to get some of this 100 grit sanding dust out of this dust collector for my filler. Doesn't take much. Actually 80 might be better. I got some 80. Hair. That's nice. Okay. Doesn't take much. Okay.
Oh,
Okay, here's the fill. I've got to come down and sand it again, but you can see it shrinks. Shrinks quite a bit actually. But it'll work. I'm gonna go over this a couple of times with 100 grit.